friends. It's Carly, and welcome to another episode of the I Learned podcast. So glad you're here. It is once again Sunday. Recording these on Sundays, it seems to be working out for me. However, it is Sunday morning. I haven't been to work at the store yet. It's still a new day, full of never-ending possibilities. Every single day seems to be like that lately. And this morning, I was especially reflecting on how clear my slate is right now. Like how wide open my world is at this point. The open-ended possibilities of it all was very clear, very solid in how I feel like I know that there is absolutely something coming that is, it's not only, even better than I could have imagined myself, but it needs this giant blank slate that my life is right now. And it not only needs that blank slate, it needs me to be rested and connected with a totally full cup. That is what this next thing that's coming is going to need from me. I can feel it. I feel like I'm pregnant with whatever this next thing is, and I have no idea. Specifically what it's going to be. But I am seeing signals and signs from the universe that let me know I'm on track. And this morning, I think what was sticking out to me most as I reflected about all of this is how strong my faith muscles have gotten at this point, where I am so glad that I've reached this point where I'm able to trust my intuition, I guess you would call it, my energetic sense of things, where if something feels like it's good and it's happening and it's unfolding, I don't look to the physical evidence to say, okay, how do I prove that this is really going on? I just am able to take my energetic knowing and let that be it. And that obviously has not always been the case. So, that was kind of where the start of this episode came from, of like, well, obviously I learned that. I learned how to trust my intuition, and me being the person that I am, my obvious next question is, okay, so how do I explain how I did that? How did I learn to trust my intuition? And I mean, the short answer is I have no fucking idea how to explain that, because it's been going on for, I don't know, like my whole life. I think we've all kind of been going along that path our whole lives. We're all at varying stages of understanding our intuition and believing in it and allowing for it to matter, allowing your inner voice to matter, allowing yourself to go against what other people are wanting from you, allowing yourself to follow your own North Star without anybody else really needing to sign off on that adventure and that journey. And I don't really know. I want to think about it. Obviously I'm trying to tell this story for a reason. I mean, obviously I go back to Abraham being a big turning point, but even before that, I've had my intuition my whole life. And the early chapters of my story, I feel like I'm kind of coming full circle with the intuition I had when I started in this life, where I could feel things and I knew things and I believed them wholeheartedly. It didn't even occur to me to doubt what my intuition told me until I tried to, have conversations with other people about my intuitive knowings. And, these people want the physical proof. They want to know, well, how do you know that? Why do you think that? I don't know. I just do. Well, that's not good enough. That's not even close to good enough. And in that kind of back and forth in my early years led to the next chapter where I kind of decided that, this intuition that I can feel, that's fine. That's fine. I don't need to turn it off by any means, but I definitely downgraded the priority and the status that my intuition had compared to the physical proof, the physical results, the on paper version of, what's proven, what has a history of working, and let's start from there and let's compare to that and make sure that we're on the right track here. We can't just be going off on our intuition in some uncharted direction just because you feel like it might be okay. That was, as much as others helped to get me to that place, it was very much me who decided, as a mechanism for, trying to do what I thought was my best in the world. I decided that my intuition cannot be the deciding factor. It can't. There has to be more to my decision making process. It has to add up on paper. I have to be able to explain it to other people, and they have to understand it. And through them understanding it, I'll know that this checks out. This makes sense. I need to reality check my intuition. I'm not allowed to follow it if I haven't done that work yet. And I operated like that for a good long while. That process, it served me fine. I mean, I was very successful by physical reality society standards in terms of my career and all of that, but I wasn't happy. I sure as shit wasn't happy, and that was kind of what led me back then to this next chapter of hmm, I have to get into the depression that led me to Abraham. Um, that was that was its own deal, right? It was kind of like this culmination of my intuition was screaming at me that something is wrong. This is not how it should be. This does not feel right. I don't think we're headed in the right direction. And my brain, doing what it was trained to do, demanded proof. Like, okay, well, if you want me to change directions, then you're going to need to prove to me why I need to stop doing what I'm doing. And my intuition, obviously doesn't have those answers. And so I was kind of stuck in this cycle for those few months of like refusing to listen. And finally, I, that morning when I woke up, July 9th, 2016, the day that I said, I'm going to do self care until I feel better. I know that's my answer. That was my intuition telling me. And that morning was kind of the first page of this most recent chapter of working back to a process of trusting my intuition. And that day, I woke up and like, I wouldn't even call it intuition. It was full blown knowing. I knew in through like from my core all the way out through my entire physical body, further out through my energetic body, I knew my life is supposed to feel better than this. And from that knowing that I have to thank my intuition for, I was able to lean 1 inch per day towards a life that felt better. And I think what the piece that Abraham fits into all of this is like to trust my intuition, I had to understand it first, especially where I'm trained to require physical proof, physical evidence that this is a good solution, that this is going to work. Um, I had to understand what are my emotions? What what does this mean when I have an intuitive feeling, when I have a gut feeling, when I have a good feeling about something or a bad feeling about something? Like how do I understand it? And if I can understand it, maybe I can learn to trust it. That was my logic back in the day. And Abraham is so helpful in that regard in terms of teaching people how to understand their emotions, how to interact and interface with this constant, literally constant, um, stream of information that's coming to us. And our intuition is really our emotions. And it's a status update. It's a it's a it's a road sign that says destination 30 miles. Or, it's a road sign in the opposite direction from the one you just saw, and now it says destination 90 miles. Shit. I think I must have got turned around. Now I'm going in the wrong direction. So our intuition, it's showing us where we are relative to where we want to be. And that is how Abraham breaks down all emotion, is that it's a signal of how close you are to what. That's a whole piece of it where she talks about it as the inner being. She also refers to it as a vortex. It's everything that you've become through all of your past lifetimes and this lifetime, and every single moment that you've ever lived as a soul, as an eternal being. It's all of that. And we each have our own true north, our compass that will point us towards all that we are if we will allow it to. And that's our intuition. That's being on the river and trusting the current is going to float you downstream, you know? And the intuition is, it's a good enough signal that you're on the right track if you let it be. And that's where I recognize this morning that I have tipped into a new place, I think, a new chapter, even just very recently, in these last few months, even, where it's no longer taking my intuition into account to decide how I feel about things. It's like I've eliminated a step out of that process where when I feel my intuitive feeling, it just is. I feel like this chapter that I've just begun, it's like kind of coming full circle with where I started from 30 some years ago, where I just gave into it. I just trusted. I had no reason not to. It was my inner guidance, and it told me which way to go, and I was listening to it, and then other people started telling me I was wrong. And that really confused the issue and got me sidetracked for, a few decades, which I think is par for the course, basically. 3 to 8 decades that we get stuck in what other people think. And then we eventually work our way back out of it. So for me, I think, yeah, it definitely boils down to trusting and understanding my emotions and understanding what are they guiding you towards? And to hear Abraham talk about, this is you. It's not some, third party. It's not an external God that decided that this is what you need to do. And so now your intuition is guiding you according to somebody else's plan. No, it's you. It's you and your deepest, biggest truth and your most authentic self and your purpose for being awake and alive in this life. Your intuition is guiding you towards all of that. And so often, and these last few months, I think this is how I got into this next level of where I'm at now. So often the intuition message, the intuitive message, does not match the physical proof. They're out of step in terms of time. So basically, you get the intuitive message, and then, however much further down the road in physical reality, you get the physical proof. And the thing is, if you don't trust in the intuition, you never get to the physical proof part. So that's where it gets really easy for people to say that, your intuitive messages are bogus because they don't always pan out. You're right, they don't. If we ignore them and we go against ourselves, right, we don't get where we thought we could go. That's a fact. But where I've gotten to lately is trusting implicitly in my intuition and allowing it to tell me things like, rest now. It's okay to just let go of the oars and rest as much as possible because trust me, you're gonna need it. Big things are coming. It tells me every day. My intuition, I mean, this morning in my journal, I wrote, I can feel my consulting business growing energetically. I can feel it. And I still can't really, I mean, I can see it. I'm seeing the signs of it, the little beginning incremental signs, those road signs that say Dallas 600 miles. Yeah. It's like, okay, I know my destination's out there and this is proof that it's on its way, but it's still a ways away. But I'm on the way. I am absolutely on the way. And so like these last few months when my intuition has told me to rest and hibernate and fill my cup in every possible way I can think of and zone out and tune out and let go of anything that is not absolutely required for survival, I have trusted every bit of what those steps have included. And multiple times, I've felt myself getting a little bit pulled over towards, but why? But why do you want me to do this? Why do I need to do it this way? Why can't I, go down that path just a little bit further? And I know well enough after, these last 6 or 7 years of practicing, I know well enough to just don't even try to find answers to those questions because one, there isn't any, and two, that's how you work against yourself. When you need your intuition to explain itself, game over. That's it. You've ruined the moment. So, like, I tried not to ruin my moments. I tried to recognize those questions as ego and past programming and the ways that I learned how to survive and cope with my early environment and being surrounded by people that needed physical evidence. I learned how to operate that way. But that's not who I am. In these last few months, I've listened to my own intuition more than ever. I've cleared my slate. I've let go. I've emptied out every single nook and cranny of space in my world that I can think of. And I know for certain, because my intuition tells me every day, that that was a very wise choice. And resting now is a very wise investment because there is absolutely a huge tidal wave of something coming into my world. It's not my job to know what it is. It's just my job to be ready, and my intuition has guided me to this place of readiness. And that's really something. To be able to go from, operating in the physical reality with physical proof being the end all be all of decision making to a purely intuitive decision making process. That just might be one of my proudest accomplishments ever. So, thank you again for listening and for allowing the opportunity to walk down these thought trails. See where we end up. I've enjoyed it as usual. Sending you all kinds of love and good vibes for wherever you are in your process, for whatever kind of day you're having. And I'll see you on the next one.